Very good evening to everyone. Welcome to Global Online. Here we are back with our NTA UGC NET preparation for paper 1, that is August 2022 batch. And today's topic for the session is research aptitude, where we are going to see most expected questions, part B, because yesterday also we have done research aptitude topic, and that there also we have taken certain questions as a practice question. Today also we are going to see few more questions, as some students have requested more questions for research aptitude. Now, before we go ahead, let's quickly have a look at what does Global Online has to offer you students. So we have a quick revision PDF which consists of 2000 plus MCQs, updated MCQs, current affairs, previous year question papers, most repeated questions, which is at the cost of 599. And for this, in order to access this particular PDF, you can get in touch with us with the given WhatsApp number. You can ping us and ensure that you are getting your copy of your revision PDF. Apart from that, we also have the UGC batches for as a crash course, which consists of daily live lectures, notes on all the topics in the form of revision PDF notes. Last 10-year question papers we have test series consisting of 2500 plus MCQs. You can download this with the help of Global Online app, or you can get in touch with us with the given WhatsApp number. The fees for same is 3,500. In case if you're going on the app, you can go on the Google Play Store and download the Global Online app. You can see the interface as given over here. Once you purchase the course, you can get the content format, which is consisting of all the units as per the your syllabus, which is which is divided into theory lectures, MCQ lectures, notes, mock test, and evaluation test. For paper 2 also we have certain subjects. Paper 2 subjects are listed on the screen. You can check on the screen. These are the paper 2 subjects. If you want to go for paper 2 notes and MCQs, they are also available. The price for same is 1,500. For the same, you can ping us on the WhatsApp number and get the details, whatever required. So let's start now paper 1, that is research aptitude question. So here comes your question number 1. Identify the sampling procedure in which units are chosen giving an equal and independent chance. So now when we talk about the various sample procedure, so which units are chosen as given by giving an equal and independence importance or chance. So whether it is quota sampling, whether it is stratified sampling, whether it is dimensional sampling, whether it is random sampling, or whether it is systematic sampling. I'll repeat the question. From the given options, you need to identify the sample procedures in which units are chosen given an equal and independent chance. So which of them will be standing or having equal and independent chance? So let's see the option number, that is a stratified sampling procedure. Then we have your random sampling procedure, and then you have a systematic. It means, these are the quota dimensional are not a part, because quota has some restrictions. Dimensions also have some extra additional provisions or restrictions. So it is only and only sampling, that is probability sampling, will be having the units, or these are the units which will be having an equal and independent chance in order to get selected, in order to get shortlisted. Now we have explanation for the same. So as I said, the question is asking us to find probability sampling. So it is basically, this is one of the sampling question, but indirectly they have just twisted the question. So the question is divided into two parts, probability and non-probability, and they're asking us to go for probability sampling. So we know very well stratified sampling, random sampling, cluster sampling, and systematic sampling are the methods which comes under probability, which have the equal and independent chance to be chosen. So quota, dimensional, snowball, purposive sampling are the examples of what? They are the examples of non-probability sampling. Next, question 2. We have a statement questions. You have to read both the statements and tell which statement stands to be true. So the statement 1 is qualitative research paradigm. Paradigm is nothing but pattern. So qualitative research paradigm emphasizes participant perspectives and uses an empirico-inductive approach. Whereas statement 2 says that in the same research project, it is neither possible nor desirable to use qualitative and quantitative research paradigm. So statement 1 talks about the pattern, okay, wherein the more importance is given to the participants in order to ensure that there is a empirical, that is empirical inductive approach. And the same time, statements 2 states that the project is, where there are some research projects where there is a qualitative and quantitative research paradigms are not desirable. So which statement stands to be true, which statement stands to be false? So yes, as per the given statement, statement 1 is correct, that okay, research paradigm can emphasize more on participant perspective because it is using empirical, that is real life examples. So yes, there will be more emphasizes on participants, where because we are talking about what real life incidents. But statements 2 that it is not desirable to use both qualitative quantitative, no, if we have a mixed research, we have to use what we can use both qualitative as well as quantitative. So statement 1 stands to be correct and statement 2 is incorrect. Then we have the explanation for the same. In qualitative research paradigm, researcher collects the empirical data. It is called as empirical. That is from specific cases to generalize. That is nothing but our inductive method. So in an empirico-inductive paradigm, the researcher collects all the empirical data and comes, just go for a specific case in order to generalize or to come up to a statement. It's following the inductive method. Whereas qualitative research can make use of quantitative and qualitative both data, depending maybe where they want, whether it wants to include the survey or whether it wants to include the experiments or whether it wants to include the method of observation. So statement 2 stands to be incorrect. Okay, now question number 3. The research method which focuses on establishing causal relationship which controls among the variables, that is independent, moderator or dependent. I'll read the question once again for everyone. The research method which focuses on establishing causal relationships which control among variables, independent, that is moderate, and dependent. So is it called as ex post facto method? Is it called as the survey method? Is it called as the case study method, or is it called as the experimental method? Which method it is called as? The one which focuses on causal relationship. So the one which focuses on causal relationship among the variables is nothing but it is called as experimental method, that is cause and effect relationship. So experimental method is a scientific approach for a research which have one or more independent variables manipulated, okay, and they focuses on establishing the causal relationships among the variables, that is whether it can be independent, moderate, or it can be dependent, and hence it is called as what? It is called as the experimental method. We have fourth question. The fourth question is on the characteristics features of quantitative research paradigm. So what are the various characteristics features on, on research paradigm? So let's check what are these features. So the features are, it is hypothetical deductive. It is focused on natural settings, or it lays stress on generalization to population characteristics. It emphasizes numeric data from a large number of people, or it says that literature review plays a minor role but justify the problem. So which of them, is the characteristic features of quantitative research paradigm? I repeat, it is hypothetical deductive, whether it is focused on natural settings, it lays stress on generalization to the population, or it emphasizes numerical data from large number of people, or literature review plays a minor role. So you have to choose the characteristics from the given code for quantitative research. So when we talk about quantitative research, it talks about, yes, hypothetical, that is hypothesis, okay. It lays stress on generalizations. At the same time, it emphasizes on numeric data. Natural settings and literature review playing a minor role is not the characteristics of quantitative research or quantitative research paradigm. So when we talk about quantitative research pattern, they are based on philosophy or phenomena. Okay, you can say that is positivist paradigm. It is called as nothing but pattern. So the belief. So if it is positivist, it believes on what? It believes on truth explanation of the phenomena in order to use, the empirical methods, or you can say the quantitative methodologies, and it helps to adopt or it is the method is adopted by the quantitative research in most experimental method which focuses on hypothesis testing. Okay. Question number 5. Now, question 5 talks about sequence or steps in scientific method. So, as I've already told you when I was discussing the research syllabus, that one question definitely you get on the method, steps of research. So, here they have given the sequence of steps in scientific method. So, what is the usual sequence of steps in scientific method? So, whether it is hypothesis making by identifying the variables, felt need which is creating the problem, identifying the difficulty and problem statement, formulation, data analysis and interpretation, collection of data, and using appropriate research tools. So what is the sequence of steps in scientific method, whether it is hypothesis, whether it is creating a problem, whether it is identifying the statement, whether it is data analysis, collection of data. So you have to choose the sequence. The sequence is same what we have learned. You have to be bit careful because many times it is twisting of the sentences C. So you have to be careful for that. Okay. So let's see. Yes, the sequences, that is first of all creating, felt the need which is creating the problem. Okay. Then coming is to defining the statement, then is making a hypothesis, then going for data analysis, and then going for collection of data. So at least here, see, if you're not able to judge between A, B, and C, but you can know very well that only after data analysis, only after collection of data analysis will come. So first will be collection of data and then data analysis. So ED. So you have to see that ED is, in sequence. But now here in option number D also ED is given. So what you can do is that then you need to see hypothesis comes in what format. Okay. So creating a problem or identifying problem statement. But hypothesis will come after that. So A should be a sequence. So AED should be a right sequence. So in none of the options, AED is given. So your right answer stands to be option number B. So this is one of the smart way, to judge your answers are correct. Fine. So yes, the same thing they have explained the sequence, that is creating a problem is nothing but identifying a problem. Then is consolidating the problem or identifying the problem statement, hypothesis making, collection of data, and lastly comes analysis and interpretation of data. Okay. Now, next is a college teacher intends to find out what extent students' involvement in learning of boys and girls from the urban areas is attributable to the socio-economic status of the family from which they hail, that is, from which they belong to. What will be designated as the independent variable? I'll read out the question for you. A college teacher intends to find out what extent is the student involvement in learning of boys and girls from urban areas, okay, to the socio-economic status of the family from which they hail. So which is what will be designated as independent variable in this research project. So whether it is student involvement, whether it is socio-economic status, whether it is rural urban areas, or whether it is gender, that is boys and girls. So here also such type of identification of the question comes with the help of examples. So you have to be careful. So yes, that is socio-economic status. So that is what, socio-economic status is the one which talks about what? Which talks about the independent variable, independent. Okay. So definitely from what the attributes will be depending on what? The socio-economic status. So as the status changes, the involvement of learning can definitely depends on what it will, the learning will be differ, or you can say that is a dependent variable through which it can be changed depending upon the independent variable. Now, so independent variable are the one which can be manipulated by the researcher, okay, and they have an effect. So here independent variable is socio-economic status by which the manipulation can be done or which can cause a response in the student's learning. That's what it is explained over here. Next, a researcher finds that through statistical analysis that the value of T is significant. What decision is warranted on the basis of hypothesis? So the value of T, the test. So the hypothesis should be rejected, the research hypothesis should be accepted, The null hypothesis should be accepted, the research hypothesis should be rejected, or no decision is warranted. So which of the following option stands to be correct? Okay, I'll read again. A research scholar finds that the statistical analysis that the value of T is significant, is important. So based on what this particular statement, what decision will be taken? So let's see. So the decision that is null hypothesis should be rejected or the research hypothesis should be accepted. Now let's see. See, null hypothesis rejected, obviously the alternate hypothesis will be accepted. But let's see an explanation for this answer. So when we talk about T, value measures the difference, relative to the samples. So the T value 0 indicates that the sample results are exactly equal to the null hypothesis. So greater the value of T, the greater the evidence against the null hypothesis. So this means that there is a greater evidence that there is a significant difference. So the closer the T is to the 0, the more likely it isn't a significant difference. So there is no difference at all. That's how, the null hypothesis, that is, it is having a negative implication. That's what the statement or the question is talking about. Then we have which of the following are the characteristics of good sample in research? So now they are talking about what? They are talking about sample. So whether the sample is readily accessible, representing the characteristics of population, serving the personal consideration, precise and accurate, freedom from bias. So which will be, see, all can be the sample, but which will be the you can say the good characteristics sample. So you have to understand the characteristics of good sample in research. So the good sample will indicate what? The population characteristics. Yes, because sample is a subset of population. It should have precise and accurate results, and it should be free from any bias. Serving personal consideration and readily accessible it's not a good characteristics of what? Of a sample. Okay, so as we know that sample is a subset of population, and in order to be good, it has to be goal oriented, it should be accurate, it should be, it should be presented in form of all the types or group. It should be designed as per the actual information based on what? Based on its own reliability. Okay, now following are the given two statements. You have to again identify the right and wrong statement. So in research, formulation of policies for admission or a screening cannot neglect the constitutional provision, that is the rules and regulations. So what they are saying is that while awarding the research degree, the minority quota has to be protected in the interest of equity. So they are talking about statement 1, wherein research formulation of policies for admission, test or screening cannot neglect the constitutional provision, while statement 2 says that while awarding the degree, the minority quota has to be protected. So from the given statement, which of the statements stands to be correct or which of the statements stands to be false? So yes, statement 1 is correct. No doubt in research, formulation of policies, one cannot neglect the rules, the code of research. But yes, in second statement, while giving a research degree, there is no such incident where the quota is to be protected as the interest of equity. It is based on the merit or the way the viva has been, the one defense or the how the viva is been conducted based on your research area. So research degree is actually given to a candidate for his work quality, as I said, the way he defends his viva. And there is no such allotment, in research with respect to the provisions for the seats. And it is given under the provision of, Article 18 of the Constitution, that the seats are reserved for men. So we cannot say that the research admission is based on the Constitution. Sorry, the first statement says that it has to follow some basic norms, but not for the degree, but for the purpose of what? For the purpose of the provisions. Okay. Now, question number 10. In which of the following methods of research hypotheses are implied rather than explicit? It means it is expressed rather than it is explicit. So descriptive, historical, experimental, or ex post facto, which is more implied. So obviously, when we say implied, usually implied, it means it is talking about what? Implication. So implication is in the basis of what? Historical method. So let's see, have a look over here. So we had ex post facto. It talks about what? It talks about, the variables or the research which is based on analytical and scientific examination. Historical research based on the past events, the research, which will help to find explanation for the questions, which is definitely more implied rather than explicit. Descriptive research which investigates, or which it's basically a fact-finding investigation with interpretation, or you can say it is to provide a factual or accurate description. And experimental research is something which is based on scientific research. That is, everything is studied on the basis of experiments. Question number 11 talks about, again, the features of qualitative research. So they have given you some list, and from which you have to find out the qualitative research. So the researcher becomes immersed in the situation present or past. It is detached from the study to avoid bias. It develops context-bound generalizations. It is based on logical philosophy, or it is an emergent research design. So from the given list, which talks about the features of qualitative research. So whether it is, whether it is avoidable, whether it is generalization, whether it is positivistic or a research design. So the one which talks about qualitative research is, yes, it is immersed in the present as well as past situation. It talks about generalization, that is coming to a statements, and, research design. It is based on logical positivistic philosophy, no. And it is detached from the study to avoid biasness, no. These are not the features of what? Qualitative research. So qualitative research, as I said, the base on all the three, because this it is obtained from, from the first-hand experience, like observation, interviews, questionnaire, focus, group participant observation. So these are all the facts on which based, the qualitative research is based. Then we have your sampling methods. So you have match the following. You have the sampling methods and the descriptions. This is basically sampling, that is stratified sampling, cluster sampling. Then you have systematic sampling, and then you have its dimensional sampling. So you have to match them accordingly. I'll read out the methods is stratified, cluster, systematic, dimensional. So you have the description, okay, given on in the column B. You have to tell that which description is matched well. So the right answer is, that is option number D. So stratified sampling, where, the independent choice is given for equal picking up, that is your probability. Cluster, so cluster is unit or a group. Systematic sampling, where the units are selected based on, based on a system. And dimensional sampling, which is chosen as per the characteristics. Okay, so the same explanation is given over here. That is, what explanation is given just now, how we decided, the same thing is spoken over here. Okay, and then you have again 13th question is research statements. So every research institute has to enforce research ethics in order to ensure credibility and meaningfulness of human inquiry. Whereas statements 2 says that ICT and its use in research has abetted ethical lapses in the conduct of research wherever it has been put in place. Okay, so it has been found that there are ethical lapses. So which of the given two statements are true? So if you look at them very carefully, yes, first, no doubt that every research institute has to follow the research ethics. But when it comes to, ethical lapses in conduct, wherever it has been put in place, no, it's not like that. Ethical research ethics has to be implemented at every phase of research. That is not only wherever it, in fact, it is, wherever it is, wherever we have research, ethics will be in place. So we have studied the principles of ethics, that is, honesty, objectivity. Then we have regardlessness of formal permission, responsibility, no discrimination, legality. So all those ethical issues, it has not abated. Means none of the ethical issue has been, taken for granted or, is being ignored. So this is very, very important. So statement 2 was false. Okay. Now question 14 is assertion and reasoning. So you have to see the question as per the assertion. So the purpose of research is to revisit the situation to ensure to ensure needed amelioration and improvement. So statement 2 says that action research is a format research which is basically directed, in bettering the situation. So which of this, out of which is the correct one? So yes, assertion and reason both are correct, because assertion says that the purpose of research is to ensure that there is an improvement. Yes. And action research is the one, which will basically help in getting this improvement. Why? Because it is basically meant for, bringing out improvement or development. Then question 15th is again as the following. So scales of measurement. I have very well explained scales of measurement in your classes, regular classes, and some of the MCQ classes also. So there are 4 scales: nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio. So all are given in, in the sequence only. You have the description. Classification is based on what? Okay. It's very, very easy question. This we have done n number of times in our lectures, theory classes, in some of the MCQ classes also. I think you should not be able to do a mistake for this. So yes, the right answer is option number 2. Nominal scale, just classification. Ordinal scale, classification as well as order, the ranking. Interval scale, classification, order as well as equal units. And ratio is having or consisting the value of absolute 0. Okay, very easy question. Definitely those who do not know or has not attended my session will definitely have a problem. Those who have done scales of measurement with me should definitely secure 2 marks in this question, because it's very, very easy. Now, so nominal scales, it has only labels. Ordinal scales has labels plus order. Interval scales has label, order, and intervals. And ratio scales has the classification along with the value of 0. Okay. 16th question. We have 20 questions to do today. So we have 5 questions to go. Okay. So in which of the following there is a greater flexibility in both in the methods and process? So whether it's ethnography or phenomenology, descriptive or impact, experimental or observation, ex post facto or historical. So where there is a greater flexibility. Flexibility, it means you are flexible with the methods and the process. So from the following research, yes, ethnography and phenomenology are the research where there is a greater flexibility. Let's see how. So when we talk about grounded theory or phenomenology or ethnography, these are the approaches which are used in qualitative research. So obviously they have a flexibility both in methods and process. So phenomena is basically about the life experience, which talks about the flexibility in research, whether it is a process or whether it is a method. Okay. Then we have, in conducting an empirical study, a researcher employs a non-parametric test in order to identify, or to find the statistics arrived at a significant level. Okay. So which of the decisions can be warranted? Rejecting the null hypothesis, accepting the null hypothesis, accepting the alternate, keeping in the mind the decisions in abeyance, okay, or rejecting the alternate hypothesis. So which of them will be, see, they have given very well conducting empirical study. So they are talking about empirical study and which decision will be correct. So yes, that is rejecting the null hypothesis and accepting the null hypothesis. Rejecting the null hypothesis, accepting the alternate hypothesis will be a decision which will be going correct by let's see over here. Rejecting null hypothesis and accepting, because null hypothesis, there is no difference between the sample and the professions. Sample and the proportions which is taken, whereas alternate hypothesis, it claims about, the contradictory things in order to prove a research. So hence, what we are saying that is, you're rejecting the null hypothesis and accepting the alternate hypothesis will be the best decision in order to ensure that there is a non-parametric data analysis statistics which is arrived at a significant level. Okay. So Question number 18, a very easy question. You should be able to crack it very well. Non-probability sampling, a very common question in some of the previous year question papers also seen. So whether cluster, judgmental, systematic, snowball, or quota, which of them stands to be non-probability sampling? So you can do in easier way. You can, one option which is odd man out, you can select, and then you can go with the right answer. So the right answer will be option number B, because if you cluster and systematic, they are not a part of your non-probability, they are the probability sampling. So yes, so you get judgmental, you get next is snowball, and you get the quota sample. Next, that is question number 19, assertion and reason. So in order to bridge the gap between the theory and practice, both fundamental and applied research formats have to be promoted. Is the state assertion question. Reason is fundamental research focuses on theory making, and applied research is directed to the applicability of the practical situation. So if you want to bridge the gap, it is important that both fundamental and apply have to be promoted. So fundamental will help in focusing the theory, and applied research will help in applicability. So in such situation, yes, both the assertion as well as reason is correct, because both are, getting the solution as per their characteristics. One is building up the concepts, another is bringing up the applicability. Next is question number 20, statement and questions. Qualitative research is an umbrella term which refers to the strategies and the data collected being termed as that is rich in description. Whereas quantitative research is hypothetic deductive and employs more statistical techniques for data analysis. So they are saying that qualitative research is an umbrella term, whereas quantitative research, it's basically mostly statistical techniques. So in that case, yes, both statement one with yes, it is umbrella term, which has, which is rich in description, and quantitative research is something which is mostly employed with the help of statistical techniques. Both the statements stands to be true. Okay. Yes. So we have ended with our 20 questions. Some students who have requested more questions have given those questions. You can practice those questions and ensure that your research practice of unit is done very perfectly. So we'll see you tomorrow with a new concept, new topic, and new set of questions. Thank you, everyone.